Hello, welcome to your first Clawhammer Banjo lesson. I hope you're as excited as I am to get started. But before we do, I just want to say a little word about this series. So the idea behind it is that it's sequential, and with each lesson you'll accumulate a new technique. And as we go along, we'll start to incorporate those techniques more and more into the tunes that we learn. So it's very important that you follow the order of the lessons, otherwise you're going to find yourself a little bit lost later on. The other thing I'll say is that it's important that you take plenty of time over each lesson and over each technique. Have lots of patience, video yourself, watch yourself in a mirror, practice always with a metronome and practice slowly and then gradually increase your speed, and make sure that you are absolutely certain that you've perfected that technique before you move on to the next one. I'll also just mention quickly that if you like to have a paper reference and tabs and all that kind of thing, I do have a book which you can either download, or I do have a few physical copies available in a link below in the description below this video. So have a look at that if that's your kind of thing. When you're playing a musical instrument, it's really important to be relaxed as possible. So find yourself a comfortable chair where you can have your feet flat on the ground and your knees roughly at a right angle before you pick up your banjo and put it on your knee. I like to play with it on my right knee. It puts it in a good position for my right hand to be in a place where I get a nice tone out of the strings, and also because it's an open back banjo, a lot of the sound actually comes out of the back. So if it's coming into your body like that, you're going to lose a lot of the sound. If it's out here, we get a nice little bit of feedback coming back off the wall, which is really nice to hear. You'll also notice I have a little prairie dog in the back of my banjo. That helps with tone. You might find you want to do something similar. Most people use a tea towel or something like that, but I think this is a little bit more fun. Just gets rid of some of the overtones and helps to focus the tone, and so each note sounds more like itself rather than all the notes on the banjo that tend to ring out a lot. So holding the banjo, we have it on our right knee, not right back there, but just slightly forwards. I'm going to lean it back a little bit, rest it on your ribs there. Then your right arm is going to come and rest on the edge of the banjo, and between those 3 points it should be held comfortably without your left hand having to do anything. Then when you bring your left hand to the neck, you're going to rest that neck in that sort of V that's formed between your thumb and this pad here below your index finger. It'll just rest there, and you should be able to slide it comfortably up and down the neck. You might have to move your thumb a little bit when you come to the fifth string peg in the way, but you should be able to do that without any real effort or tension going into that arm or shoulder or anything like that. But regularly shake yourself out, make sure you got rid of any tension that's building. So we're going to have a look at the right hand now. This is the most important part of playing the banjo, getting good right hand technique. It's where the quality of your tone will come from and where your rhythm is kept. So we're going to choose a nail, or choose a finger with a nail, out of your index and middle finger. Choose your strongest finger or the one that you feel you can grow the best nail on. For me, it's my middle finger. I can't grow a decent nail on my first finger, so it's going to be the middle one. And we're going to curl your fingers in to kind of a claw shape with your thumb, just like that, sticking out a little bit. That's going to be able to reach back to the fifth string. I like to play with my thumb a little bit bent. Plenty of people get on really well with a thumb that's sort of straight out like that, but I find for playing on other strings later on, it gives me a bit more accuracy and makes it a little bit easier, and I don't have to change my technique to do other things with it. So these two fingers, they're just ballast. Get them tucked out the way, not too tight. You don't want to have a load of tension in your hand, just enough that you can be accurate, but without feeling any strain on your hand. So what we're going to do is we're going to strike the first string with the back of your chosen nail. When you do that, try and make sure the movement is with your whole arm, and it's slightly in towards the banjo. Make sure your thumb every time comes to rest on the fifth string. Now when you lift your hand away, Sometimes you want that fifth string to make a noise, sometimes you don't, so you need to practice both ways. The noise is made by the fact that your thumb rests reasonably heavily on that fifth string, so that the flesh of your thumb, sounds horrible, wraps around the string, and then as you pull away it makes a noise. There's definitely no downwards movement of that thumb, no plucking as you would do on another instrument. So we're going to go down and then up. First of all, try and do it gently and try and make as little sound when you leave that fifth string as you can. Now it's important to rest on it even if you don't want it to sound. It's going to help with your rhythm and help keep things tidy. So the first exercise I've got for you here is to try doing that, but we're going to do it with a metronome. Set your metronome really slowly. I would suggest no faster than 30 beats per minute. The issue with playing at 30 beats per minute is that it's quite hard to actually follow it because there's such a big gap between the clicks. So I'd recommend doubling the speed of your metronome, set it to 60 but treat it as 30. So we're going to go down, up. So and I'm trying to make sure I get a really nice solid tone on that first string, and also trying to make sure I get that thumb resting on the fifth string, but when I leave it doesn't make a big noise. Before you actually start practicing this with a metronome, you might want to spend a little bit of time just finding how the mechanics of that work for you. Everyone's hands are a little bit different, everyone's banjos ring differently, so find a way to get that to work for you before you then try and start to play it with any rhythm. So what you want to do once you're happy with that at 30 or slower if you're starting slower is then gradually inch your speed up with your metronome. I would suggest trying to get up to 80 if you can, well effectively 40, so really not that fast, but that's a nice speed to start playing tunes at as a beginner. Once you're happy with that, then what we'll do is we'll try adding in the fifth string with a sound. So you can see I'm not plucking, I'm just pulling away and it makes a sound. There'll be a subtle change to the way I'm using my thumb to when I don't want it to make a sound, but it wants to look pretty much the same. If you look at yourself in a mirror, you should barely see any difference. Once you're happy with that, then it's time to start looking at the standard clawhammer rhythm, which has that claw, hammer, sound. So no fifth string, no fifth string, fifth string. So with the metronome, and again, build the speed up very gradually with that. Always regularly check in with yourself that you're not building up any tension. It might not even be in your hand, it's very likely to end up being in your shoulders or your back, could even be your feet. Just make sure everything's nice and relaxed regularly. Once you're happy with that string, you need to do the same thing on the B string, the G string, and the low D string. Once you've done that, you're ready to move on to the next lesson.